Sairam children, in the last video we saw how Krishna gave Arjuna the knowledge of self-realization. The knowledge of self-realization is called Jnana Yoga, wherein each individual has to realize that God resides within themselves. How? By being conscious of their every tiny action. Hearing these words of Krishna, Arjuna stared at Krishna, speechless. He asked him, "But what is right action, Krishna? How will I know if my action is right?" This is where, children, you need to understand the concept of karma. The Sanskrit word karma means action. It also means the results of an action. Every act that we do produces a result called karma, depending on the objective for which we do it. If we are doing it for ourselves, for our own selfish interest, depending on the action, whether it is good or bad, we accumulate good karma or bad karma. And this very karma is responsible for our rebirth, for which we enjoy or suffer the results of our past deeds. Karma is like depositing money in the form of good and bad action in the bank. But at the same time, when we do any action without asking or without having any attachment for the result, when we do it as a nishkarma, as something for God, then at that point of time, there is no karma accumulation. The best way not to earn any karma is not to do anything just for yourself, but to do every action for the good of society. Always keep in mind that Mother Nature does everything and that we are not the real doer of any action. If we strongly believe in this and work as a servant of God, we will not earn any new karma, and any of our past karma will be wiped out by our spiritual knowledge. When all our karma is used up, we become liberated, and this is the method of uniting with God, and this is called the path of selfless action, Karma Yoga. In the Mahabharata, there is a wonderful story of a devoted karma yogi and an ideal student who worshipped his guru and got what he wanted. It is the story of Eklavya. At teacher Drona's ashram, Dhritarashtra's sons, Pandu's sons, and various other princes were learning the art of mastering weapons. On hearing of the teacher's ability, many others wished to learn the art of handling weapons under his guidance. At this time, a tragic happening took place. There was a tribal king named Hiranyadhanu. His son Eklavya thought that he would also become teacher Drona's student and learn the art of archery from him. He went to the teacher and expressing his wish, he said, "Respected teacher, I want to serve you and gain the art of handling weapons. Please oblige me." At once the teacher said, "Son, I will not be able to give you knowledge here along with these princes." In this way, the gates of knowledge were closed to Eklavya. He felt very sad. He did not like rudeness, but still his decision to learn the art was firm. For this, he went into the jungle. There, he made an idol of the teacher. It was made of mud. He bowed to the idol of the teacher, and taking it to be teacher himself, he started learning archery. His devotion was great, and learning in this way, he became a great archer. Please note, children, the faith which Eklavya had on the idol of his guru Drona. Though Dronacharya in physical reality had not given him any permission, yet the faith that the student had on his guru, that only helped him become a master archer. One day, with the consent of the teacher, the Pandavas and Kauravas went hunting. By chance, they came to the forest in which Eklavya was staying. The princes had a dog with them, which got separated from them and started roaming. Suddenly, seeing the dark skin of Eklavya, the dog started barking. Therefore, the tribal prince shot 7 arrows and stitched his mouth. The dog came running up to the Pandavas. They thought, "Who is it that has sewn the mouth of the dog so skillfully with arrows? He must be a really great archer." In this way, Eklavya got praise, but along with praise came envy and jealousy. They now started searching for the archer. After going a few steps, they saw Eklavya practicing archery. They asked him who he was. He said, "I'm Eklavya, Hiranyadhanu's son, and teacher Drona's disciple. The surprised princess came to the teacher and told him all that Eklavya had said. The teacher too was astounded and said, "But Eklavya is not my disciple. I did not give him admission here." His most skilled student Dhananjaya told him that he had granted him the wish to be his most skilled student, and yet here was Eklavya more learned than he. "Come with me, sir. Please convince yourself." On meeting the teacher, Eklavya bowed to him and asked him to command. Drona asked him for his right thumb. Without hesitating for a moment, Eklavya cut off his right thumb. Now he would no longer be able to handle a bow and arrow. Eklavya's unselfish sacrifice showed how much devotion he had for his teacher. If you're wondering who is Dhananjaya, Dhananjaya refers to Arjuna. In the entire Gita, Krishna and Arjuna are referred to with different names. This is only to break the monotony of using the same names in a 700 shloka conversation between the same two people. Now, Eklavya had got actually victory in defeat. With the right thumb gone, he could no longer use the bow effectively, but he continued his practice using his left arm. By virtue of his supreme sacrifice, he received the grace of God, and he achieved distinction as a left-handed archer. He proved that nothing could stop a totally sincere effort. By his actions and behavior, Eklavya showed that your inferior or superior status is not determined by the community you belong to, but by your vision and qualities of mind and heart. So, what is the lesson that we get to learn from here? Keep the faith, the rest will follow. If you think about it, anyone who has achieved anything in this world has done so only because he or she has had faith. Faith in a particular idea, faith in God, faith in himself, or faith in all of them. Let's take the example of Mother Teresa. This young Albanian nun, Sister Teresa, was headmistress in a school in Kolkata where she had worked for 20 years when she got the call within the call. God, she would say later, had ordered her to leave the convent and help the poor while living among them. She followed the order even though she was plagued by doubt about her decision and was even reduced to begging for food in the first year. She went on to start the Missionaries of Charity, whose mission was to serve the poorest of the poor. 30 years later, the world recognized her years of selfless service to the poor by awarding her the Nobel Peace Prize. Of course, just having faith is not enough. You should also be prepared to back the faith up with tons of hard work. You need to be able to make all the sacrifices it takes, and yes, you need to be able to do your work with no expectation of reward. Such effort, as Krishna says, will only come with self-discipline, because with self-discipline comes a lot of sacrifices. If you manage to do all that, then definitely wisdom is guaranteed. In simple words, when one has faith and self-discipline which comes out of sacrifice and hard work, such a person gets wisdom, and this wisdom leads to complete happiness, a state where one has no doubts and no fear. This entire chapter can be summarized in a pair of shlokas in the Gita, where Krishna promises to Arjuna and through him to the entire humanity that he will incarnate himself on earth whenever, wherever unrighteousness or adharma begins to take over. Here are the original Sanskrit verses. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Hence, the Lord will come down to earth from time to time in a life form to set things right on the earth whenever there is adharma. The Lord fulfills the desire of those who worship Him. The Lord gives knowledge to those who do selfless service. Self-knowledge will burn away all our past karma and free us from the wheels of cycles of birth and death. This is the entire truth which the Gita is talking about. Sai Ram, children.